Welcome back, viewers at home. You're still tuned in right here on Prime Live and having amazing conversation. I am joined by Firdous Manjoo, who is an individual who spearheads a whole lot of beautiful initiatives. I mean, starting off, she is a member of the PSAYL as well as the PSC at WITS. And tonight she joins me to talk to us with regards to hosting a successful, beneficial mass Iftar. And I think this mass Iftar actually took place at Emmarentia Primary School. So if you were there, give us a thumbs up to say, hey, I was there and all was good, all was yummy, and all was set. But Firdousa, assalamu alaikum and jazakallah so much for joining us.
Walaikum salam, it's so good to be here.
Now, you know, when I'm thinking of mass Iftar, I'm thinking the number of people, making sure every plate has a date, at least so that when the time comes, everybody has date, everybody has water, the stress, the panic. Can you take us through, you know, the planning and preparation of the mass Iftar, as well as what were some of the challenges that you had to sort of overcome while fasting, trying to make sure that those who are coming to break their fast don't experience any hurdle?
So it took months of work on behalf of the PSA Youth League, and alhamdulillah, we had so many volunteers come out. We had, you know, a venue to arrange. We had, you know, tons of things to get through in terms of our arrangements, sound systems, things that needed to happen. But alhamdulillah, we pulled it off. It was a bit tough. We were expecting some rain. Last year we got rained out. And so we did have some contingency plans there. But alhamdulillah, it was brilliant and it went off beautifully.
Last year and this year, which one was easier or which one was the best?
You know, last year was special because it was our first mass Iftar. But this year, I think, alhamdulillah, it went off without a glitch. Last year, as I said, we got rained on, and so people were in the corridors, in the halls. It was a bit chaotic. But this year, it went off so beautifully. There was nothing in terms of running late, running over time, perfectly planned out. It all just worked out wonderfully.
Now seeing that after all the planning and the day, or rather the hours were slowly creeping in, and now finally people were walking in, what would you say are some of the, you know, outlooks when you come to, you know, looking at some of the highlights and memories of that mass Iftar? Would you say seeing the community walk in one by one, did you sense a sense of unity and camaraderie, or it took a while before you actually could see that?
I would say from the get-go. So from the time that the first few people walked in, I would say that there was a sense of unity and camaraderie because, you know, it takes a lot of hands to put something like this together. So from as early as 1 o'clock, there were volunteers on scene who were helping out and setting things up. And so I would say from the get-go, you know, we were experiencing those kind of things. As we saw the community sort of filter in, I think it was so nice to see people from so many different backgrounds to join us, and it was beautiful. It was really wonderful.
Alhamdulillah, alhamdulillah. Now we know that most events, when you look at them and they say mass Iftar, a lot of individuals who even might be keen to be a part of it, they tend to be hesitant because they're like, okay, mass Iftar doesn't speak to my religion or doesn't speak to something that, you know, I recognize as a religion. Would you say that there are individuals from different walks of life coming to the mass Iftar? And if so, what would you say, you know, are some of the, does it allow actually the mass Iftar for the faith dialogue to actually take place, and what's the environment like?
So as I said, we had so many people from different walks of life joining us, and so SA Jews for Palestine was one of the organizations that were there. One of the things that we wanted for our mass Iftar was that everyone feels welcome and that there is space for that open dialogue. And so what we did is we had little flyers printed out explaining for anyone who might not be Muslim what the process is, the reason why we do certain things, and, you know, encouraging open, as you said, open dialogue, and for them to ask questions. So I think that was a way that we wanted everyone to feel welcome. I think in terms of the Palestinian struggle, it is so important that we have that open dialogue, that we don't frame this as a Muslim issue. It is a humanitarian issue, and the only way that we will move the movement and we'll see success in the movement is if that we welcome people into the movement, and we rely on others and we work together. So I think a sense of togetherness, and these kind of events really promote that, I would say. And so it was really nice to see people of different walks of life.
Now, for those, how do you continue to stay so, energized, motivated, despite, because I mean, Ramadan fatigue is a thing, all right? So how do you then, ensure that you have that balance where you make the most out of Ramadan, but at the same time you are encouraging by the means of Mass Iftar, the different rallies probably that you are part of, or protests that you are part of, in advocating for the Palestinian cause?
So it's not easy. I'm not going to sit here and say, hey, it's the easiest thing in the world. I myself struggle. So I think it's all about making time and finding that balance. I think what's really nice is that there's always room for you as an individual to do impactful stuff. So, it's so important that we have people come out to our rallies, to come out to our massive towers, to come out to, we have weekly pickets. So if um, anyone wants to join us, there are weekly pickets and all of these events, and it's so important for the momentum to keep it going. But life gets busy, and so if what you can do is as simple as set your intention, boycotts, targeted boycotts, and so it's easy. It's your McDonald's, your Coke, your Clover, and so those are small ways as an individual you can keep the passion for it going. For me, I also think that having these sort of events like a massive tower, it recenters you and your intention and reminds you that what, there is a cause, and this is a cause that is so worth fighting for. That there are individuals, human beings at the end of the day, and I think it's a nice reminder to sit there and realize, this is impactful work, this is important work, and it's not things that we also should do. Willy-nilly just to make ourselves feel better.
Oh, yes.
It's stuff that we have a duty to do. So I think that's where the passion, I would say, comes from. But even if you're tired, it's not activism is not something you can take a rest from. And if you have to, then you keep going. You keep going. You keep educating. You keep being as involved as you can be.
My last question for you tonight, Firdous, is regards to, every event that is planned, there's always an intention behind it to say what you would like for attendees to get out of or to take away from that massive Iftar. What would you say was your intention for this massive Iftar, and what do you hope the attendees took away from just experiencing this massive Iftar that happened?
So I'd say the importance of community and togetherness. And as I said, also like recentering your intention. So reminding everyone that, what, the Palestinian cause is a cause that we need to continuously be working towards a free Palestine. And it's not something that will just come, there is work that needs to go into it. And inshallah, in our lifetimes, and soon we'll see the liberation of the Palestinian people. But I think it was a reminder that now is not the time for rest. Just because there's a ceasefire doesn't mean we stop where we are. We keep pushing until we have a liberated Palestine. And when we have a liberated Palestine, we build some more, because we need to rebuild Palestine. It doesn't stop at a ceasefire. We still have many steps and a long way to go. And so we're hoping that that's what people took away from it, and also just the power of the individual and the power of centering Palestinian voices. So at the Massive Tower, we had many Palestinian people speak and have their stalls, and I think it's so important to have people understand and connect with that. So it's not, and also South Africans shouldn't struggle to connect with that. I also feel from a perspective of we've experienced apartheid, we know what it's like. We shouldn't struggle to connect, but I think events like the Massive Tower are a nice reminder. So I hope that everyone took away from it the power of the individual voice, the power of you as an individual, and how far you can take the movement in your actions.
And also just remembering, because, we're a generation of putting it out to the universe, and how, we don't always have to look at how we experienced it. And because now this makes us feel like for us to be sympathetic and empathetic, it should be from a point of experience, or be it direct or indirect. But I think it should be a fact that if you were in that condition, if you were subjected to such conditions, you would want for someone to stand up for you. You would want, as much as in our schools, in our current societies, we advocate against bullying, we advocate against gender-based violence. It's things that we advocate for because you wouldn't want to be in that other side of the receiving and have no one speak for you and, shout and cry out for you. But I know I promised our viewers at home, because we know that when it comes to mobilizing the youth for beautiful causes or initiatives, it's not always easy. And I think it will be fair for me to ask any tips and tricks that one should consider when hosting a very beautiful big initiative, like maybe mass iftar, if not any rally or any picketing program in that sense. What are some of the things you would like to impart to them?
I would say that there's always events. I would say start with our social medias, so PSA youth follow Instagrams and keeping up with that and putting those kind of things out there. I think the second thing that is so important is when different organizations come together and we have unity within our solidarity organizations, because I feel like sometimes there's a lot of politics, disunity. I think it's important, if you want to host something that is successful and meaningful, that we bring our organizations together, and I think there's such value in that. I think it's also so important to at a grassroots level, so you start speaking to your fellow students, at university, at school, you start educating people and having the really difficult conversations. But I also think in terms of mobilizing, there's a lot of people who do have the ability to show up and to be there, just a little bit hesitant, a bit lazy. It's such a welcoming space, it's such an empowering space, it's so friendly, and it's something that I really encourage every young person or every person to get involved in, because it's so worth it, and inshallah there's immense reward in dunya and in akhirah for it, but it's really good work, and I really encourage people to get involved.
Firdous, Jazakallah so much for joining us and sharing in the beautiful work that you are doing yourself and your team, and the impact that you wish to be to others around you, and also as yourself, as you grow to become a beautiful individual that you will always be, I believe, and I'm putting it out there. And Jazakallah so much for coming in and sharing all your beautiful thoughts regarding and being kind. I mean, the last message, when you're like, we understand you get tired or you become so discouraged, it's okay to just join in, because we find that when we are being a part of causes, you think it comes across easy as it came across to you, or you think people have the same support structure as you. But it's always nice hearing someone say, it's okay when you're feeling discouraged, but just know that we are always here to, have you join us, and let's hold hands and let's push through. Jazakallah so much for joining us, and we wish you nothing short of the best, inshallah, Ameen, and a beautiful Ramadan at that.
Jazakallah so much for having us.
Viewers at home, that was my beautiful guest, Firdous Manjoo, who was sharing in her journey, as well as just sharing in her mass iftar on what took place and some of the, purposes that she hoped it really gave to the attendees of the event. Now, if you're someone who would like to be part of her events or anything of that, like, make sure you do follow them on their social media handles. But for now, let's head over to a net break. We'll see you just after that.